Isagi and Bastard Munchen have officially become the champions of the NEL thanks to Isagi's final goal, defeating PXG 3-2. With this win over Ren Itoshi, does this finally make Isagi the better player after all this time? Yes it does, at least in my opinion. As the title of the video suggests, I'm going to be explaining more of Ren's mistakes as to why Isagi surpassed him instead of a straight category to category comparison. You'll see what I mean later in the video. If you like this type of content, make sure to subscribe and follow my TikTok where I make short-form Blue Lock and Ichi the Witch content. First, let's start with Isagi and Ren's rivalry. Their rivalry truly began in their 4v4 rematch in the second selection, where Ren's team won 5-4. Despite this, Ren stated the only reason he beat Isagi was simply due to luck and nothing more. We then skip to the end of the U20 game where, thanks to luck, Isagi scores the final goal to defeat the Japan U20 team 4-3 and become Blue Lock's hero. Both have beaten the other using luck, and in their third clash of their rivalry, Isagi has beaten Ren without using luck. So I pose the question again, is Isagi finally better than Ren? Now, it's not a simple yes or no answer despite what I said at the beginning of the video. In my opinion, there are two ways to argue how one player is better than another. First is individually or in a vacuum, leaving it up to the player's skills and physicals. The second way is in a team-like setting and how well you can mesh with your teammates. Both are just as valuable as the other, especially in soccer where both individual skills and teamwork are tested throughout a match. A great example is comparing Otoya and Yukimiya within the third selection. Otoya was ranked as the fourth best player in the third selection and Yukimiya was ranked fifth. First, let's look at the two in a vacuum. When looking at their skills and physicals, Yukimiya is the better player by a decent margin. He's fast, he can dribble, he has a very good shot, and is even nicknamed the 1v1 Emperor. Yukimiya is built for player versus player scenarios and thrives in these types of situations. However, his team play from what we saw wasn't really the best. Otoya, on the other hand, is a far better team player, being able to pass, play make, and slip behind the enemy team, working in tandem with Karasu to make a devastating 1-2 punch. So, Yukimiya was a better player in a vacuum and individually in 1v1 situations, but Otoya thrived in a team-based setting, and in the third selection, Otoya was rated as a higher player. Not only was this by ego, but by the World 5 as well. So as you can see, being a better individual player does not make you a better overall player. With that out of the way, let's take this to Ren and Isagi's rivalry. Starting with individually, I think we can all agree this goes to Ren. He's bigger, faster, stronger, has better dribbling and shooting. Any sort of physical category you can think of, Ren is better than Isagi in. In fact, Kaiser even said that technically, Ren is the best player in Blue Lock. I'd also say Ren's individual defense is better than Isagi's, being able to take in a person's specs and figure out a way to counter them. He did this with Isagi, creating the 4-meter radius where he shut down Isagi completely. There's also the time when he read Kaiser and Isagi's play with Predator Eye and stopped them. However, that's not to say Isagi is lacking in individual talent. Isagi has far better vision and IQ. I'd also argue his individual playmaking is better as well, so it's not a total sweep for Ren. But there's not really a debate. Ren is a better player in a vacuum. Now, what about in a team environment? Comparing Ren and Isagi in a team-based environment isn't as close as you might think. While yes, in the past, every team with Ren on it essentially focused on him, while he also made his teammates better with his puppet soccer. But now, in the current manga, Ren has essentially failed his team because of his focus towards Isagi. The entire point of the PXG game, in my opinion, was set up for Ren to obsess over Isagi and fail his team. So much to the point where he doesn't play rational anymore. Let me give some examples. At the very start of the game, Ren doesn't care about getting the #1 title. He simply wants to destroy Isagi, starting his downfall. After stealing the ball from Kaiser, he waits for Isagi to get back on defense and then decides to shoot the ball while holding him up. Ren could have easily scored from here if he didn't wait for Isagi. He implies it himself, which leads to a shot getting blocked by Hiyori. There's also the first half of the game where Charles only passes to Shido. Now, some people may think that this is Charles selling, but you have to look a bit deeper. Charles doesn't pass to players who are boring or move in boring ways. He's a contrarian. Ren not being able to understand this line of thinking from Charles and adapting to his playstyle was actively limiting PXG indirectly. Since after Isagi's two-gun volley, Charles gave up because of how hard they were man-marking Shido. Ren wasn't seen as a scoring option at this point in time, which led to Kaiser scoring on later. We then move to Ren entering his flow state, and even then he still finds ways to hinder his team. First, while focusing directly on Isagi and Kaiser, he gains tunnel vision, leading him to losing the ball to Ness. The second ball is picked up and he goes once again, dribbling past Hiyori and Corona, then passing it back to Tokimitsu. However, instead of using his off-ball movement to get by them, he decides to go backwards. He is currently seeking for more things to destroy, even if it means reversing the flow of his attack and starting over again. Then he gets by Hiyori and Corona, fakes Raichi, and just as he's about to shoot, he doesn't. This is when we get the Loki statement of how he'd be banned in a real match. Rin then moves to his second round of destroying everyone and once again refuses to shoot until Isagi replaces Sai's Phantom. Now we get into the really bad parts for Rin, if you didn't think it was bad enough already. Rin saying that he feels incredible after scoring that goal had set up any chance of a comeback for him. We move forward to when Loki is on the field and Rin gets blocked by Igaguri of all people, twice. After his third attempt and getting by Igaguri and two randoms, Rin has two options. He could A, pass to Shido who is in a 1v1 against Ness, and let's be honest, Ness isn't stopping Shido, or B, run into the open space next to Shido and score. Instead, he runs into Isagi and misses. We then get further into the game where Rin once again refuses to pass back to Shido who is being guarded by Kiora and decides to crash into Kaiser and once again loses. Rin has a solid 5 to 6 opportunities to score and converted on one of them. Every other time he has sold those opportunities, looking for that high he felt after scoring his first goal by crushing Isagi. Meanwhile, you have Isagi who is able to learn and adapt throughout the game, discovering different ego types and using them to his advantage, coordinating with Hiyori's world ego type and Kunigami's restrictive self ego type to combine for a triple top performance play. Isagi was able to understand and adapt to Rin's evolution by using himself simply as a tool or a pawn, which led to him teaming with Kaiser, essentially changing his playstyle as the game evolved, working with people for the sake of victory. Eventually, in the end, he was the one who was able to read Ness's evolution the fastest and trust in him to make the right play, having the charisma to draw out others' egos and exploit them for himself, creating a brand new and perfect version of himself, controlling hope and despair at the same time. That is Isagi Yoichi, the neo-egoist, Blue Lock's one and only Demon King. So yes, Rin may be a better player when looking at the stats and different categories of an individual player, but the way Isagi can manipulate a game into his favor, controlling players at this high of a level is better and more valuable than anything Rin could ever do. That's why I believe Isagi has finally surpassed Rin Itoshi. Thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe. It's free and it only takes a couple of seconds and it would make me very happy. I'll see you on the next one.